Many videos show a truncated version of the so-called Fermi Paradox. The most important element of the Fermi concept is never mentioned. In the videos and interviews with scientists, an important aspect of the Fermi Paradox is perhaps intentionally omitted. First, it is so obvious that it is not a paradox. The famous Nobel Prize winner Enrico Fermi claimed in the early 1940s that intelligent beings in the universe would spread life through the colonization of planets. Since this process is exponential, if you do the math, the universe would be full of life. But what the scientific community omits to say is that these planets, which have been terraformed, would be linked together by grandparents, parents, children. All of this in endless chains of generations from planets to planets, from solar systems into solar systems, from near to far. If at all possible, a process of theoretical chemical evolution could not compete with such a speed of propagation. Some sort of natural selection of life-spreading processes in space would eliminate chemical evolution as a viable process. Indeed, the theoretical chemical evolution process is far too slow in comparison, at least 100,000 times slower. To get an idea of the power of life propagation suggested by Fermi, this process would have spread life throughout the known universe in much less than 1,000th of the time that evolution would take to develop on a single planet. This means that life is essentially an artificial phenomenon. Contrary to what scientists claim, the Fermi's question, "Where are they?" did indeed find his answer a few years later when the UFO phenomenon began. The mainstream community denied this phenomenon because it did not fit the accepted paradigm. Indeed, scientific publications have been very selective in keeping only a single general narrative relating to theories of evolution while excluding anything that suggested that some kind of intelligence entities could be the source of life on Earth. But this situation has created a systematic bias that has blinded the scientific perception and research orientation when it comes to the Fermi concept. On the other hand, the scientific community believes that the speed of light cannot be exceeded. But in the valid case where the universe is infinite in space, there is no way to prove that the speed of light is a limit because we have very little explored the levels of the infinitely small, which are obviously infinite. Consequently, all that is unknown to the infinitely small is an indication that no definitive conclusion should be drawn at the risk of adopting, without realizing it, a dogmatic attitude. Limiting the universe has intuitively been the goal of scientists, but infinity always comes back to haunt them. Therefore, in order to avoid Fermi's logic, the scientific community denied the UFO phenomenon and coined the expression, the Fermi Paradox. Indeed, to admit that the planet is visited by an extraterrestrial civilization would challenge many scientific old paradigms. Apart from that, we have the religions which, when translated correctly, testify that the Earth was terraformed by very technologically advanced beings who came from space and created life on Earth. Statistically, the Fermi concept shows that life would be entirely an artificial phenomenon. The reason is that no life could develop by accident on a planet because, before it had time to develop, the planet would be discovered and terraformed relatively very quickly. In addition, DNA contains a very complex language that leads to the creation of life forms. So, it is basically a very advanced information system, more advanced than our scientific level on Earth. Since only intelligent beings can create information, only intelligent beings can be the source of the creation of life. If it was not us who created life on Earth, then it was beings from elsewhere, which independently validates Fermi's concept. So here we are in the presence of three types of indirect evidence that confirm Fermi's concept, which, and this is very important, turns out to be extremely probable and expected from a mathematical point of view. When they came to Earth, the terraformers improved their techniques during the terraforming period. It was a kind of evolution that happened in the minds of the terraformers, not by miraculous random molecular accidents. Indeed, the concept that random accidents create information is actually the god of evolutionists. Random accidents can in no way create information in any meaningful way, especially when it comes to the enormous informational complexity contained in DNA. Indeed, human DNA is made of 3.5 billion program units that must have required intelligent programmers. This indicates that life is spreading, as Fermi stated. Intelligent biological entities are spreading life in the universe like humans are spreading life on the continents of the planet. Religious texts have been influenced by terraformers who are scientific creators of life on Earth. According to these texts, terraformers have a human form because they created humans in their image. These texts are, in fact, traces of terraforming, and this is exactly what is expected mathematically by Fermi's concept. The Bible and many other ancient texts mention a great flood, which was, in reality, a reset of the first terraforming. The image of the Great Flood is actually the result of a titanic bombardment that created huge craters, volcanoes, and huge tidal waves. These tidal waves, in turn, covered all forms of life under tons of sediments, leading to relatively rapid fossilization and deposits of all kinds. Petrified trees crossing multiple vertical strata is proof that the sedimentation was quick. The dust ejected into the atmosphere created a nuclear winter, which corresponds to the period of glaciation. The fact that we find frozen mammoths with food still in their mouths indicates how suddenly this happened. The fossils found today are wrongly dated under the paradigm of evolutionism and uniformism. Dating methods involving radioactivity did not take into account the radioactivity created by nuclear bombardment, which invalidates them. We are alive today thanks to this terraforming reset. Dinosaurs and some other species were not part of the re-establishment of life on Earth. But we come to a great conclusion. Since life is solely an artificial phenomenon, this implies that chains of life creations on planets cannot logically have a beginning. Therefore, the only possible universe, which would include infinite chains of creations, is an infinite universe. This logic eliminates the Big Bang theory as a valid theory. The observation that life is an artificial phenomenon necessarily implies that the universe is infinite in time. In conclusion, there is no God, no Big Bang, and no chemical or biological evolution. Instead, intelligent beings are spreading life in the infinite universe, and we are a link in endless chains of creations in the past. It will be up to our destiny to continue this chain, which will be part of the future. The planets we will terraform will develop with beliefs in gods who created life, in memory of our contacts with them in their past. Later, they will develop scientific theories of the origin of life, attributing the origin to chemical and genetic random accidents because they will not be able to imagine what really happened. They will be in a period that we are currently experiencing, a period of cultural and scientific revolution. We have the privilege to live in this period in which, for the first time in our development, we can understand our real origin.